Ooh, I don't know. So, welcome back to Waterside Workshop. Today we've got the classic problem of the Rover 75 Estates, or any Rover 75 to be fair, or MGZT. The old headline starting to sag. It's coming down here, it's coming down at the front here, and starting to look messy, starting to look tacky. It's peeled off here and been pushed back over. So what we're going to do is we're going to take it all out and do a custom colour all back in. So I'll take you through the process of how to take the lights out, how to take all the side clip-ins out, the handles, the lights in the middle, the big light system at the front, all the sun visors and stuff like that, and how to actually get it out from under these posts around the sides, and etc, etc. It's a little bit complicated, but once you sort of get there, and I'll show you a few bits and pieces, show you some tools, you'll know exactly what you're doing. So let's get started on this one. We're going to get this all out. We're going to put it over there on a couple of trestles, and we're going to show you how to peel this all off, strip down what's underneath, put a new layer on, glue it all back on, cut out all the proper bits properly so that all looks nice and everything fits exactly how it should when you put everything back in as well. And hopefully you'll be able to copy it and do it yourself. So welcome in, I'm Carl, let's go, let's see what we can do. Okay, so let's get started. So the first thing you want to do is take these headrests out of the way, because when you do take it down, they get in the way, basically. So just take them out and lay them on the floor for now, out the way. Just push that button into the side there, wiggle them up. Mine ain't been out for a while, so they're a bit tight. Yeah, nothing that is too hard to do there. And then we'll get some lighting going on the front here, and we'll start to unscrew some stuff. So the first thing I'm going to do is get a Phillips screwdriver. Get a nice quality bit of kit. You can use an impact driver if you want to, but I would recommend not doing so, because some of these old Rovers are getting a bit brittle these days. So just get a nice screwdriver. I mean, I've got a nice Milwaukee one, does the job quite nicely. And just start doing these screws. Obviously put them in some good areas. Oh, we use the center console to put all the screws and stuff in, because then you can't lose anything. That's nice and deep. Just spin them out like so, pretty straightforward. These are sort of some of the easy bits, to be honest. When you are taking stuff out, be very careful of some of the wiring, because that get fairly brittle on some of these older cars. You just have to be careful what you're doing, where you go through there. And we'll just lay that up there for this minute. And then you've got this one here, and you want to just pop this little cap off. Not going to let me do it with that, I'll just put that to the side. And then what we'll use a small flat blade to get into there. So we get the small flat blade on the little bit and just pop it up like so. And in there should reveal a clip like that. And that's just a case of popping it out. Again, down in the center console to keep it with everything else. And then you got the fun part. This is where it starts to get more fun. You've got to try and get this plastic moving. Sometimes you can move the whole thing, but you want the plastic moving like so, so you can get behind it like that and just take the whole thing out. I always put it up there on the dash, and then if you look in here, you'll start to find some screws and stuff in there. Now you got one on the left here, one on the right. Phillips screws again. Nothing too crazy. Just spit them out with a decent screwdriver. Don't drop them like that. Pick them up, put them in the center console. Magnetic screwdriver would actually help. I'm okay because obviously I've got spare ones of them floating around the garage, but I caught them ones anyway, so it's not too much of a problem. You just pull it down like so, spin it around like that, and that will reveal the back like that. There's a little clip on the edge of this one here. You just push that down with your nail, you hear it pop, and you just wiggle it out. This one just pulls out like so, goes in that little bit there. And then this one does the same. And out they come. Again, we'll just put them up there so they're out of the way. What I normally do when I'm doing this is I just feed these little wires up into this little recess bit up here. It just sort of keeps them out of the way and stops them from getting caught on the headliner when we are actually removing everything. So this one, as you can see, I need a cover for the front of it. I've got to get it sorted, but for this purposes, move that to the side. Pull the little clip. Don't know why pulling that little clip makes a difference, but for some reason it does. It gives you something to hold on to, sort of thing. Just get your screwdriver behind what you're trying to pull out. They can be a bit tight, but don't be too rough on them because you don't want to snap them. There we go. Put that down in the center console. Again, on the visor on this side, just a couple more Phillips screws. In the center console. You have to take the weight off the actual visor to get them to spin right out sometimes. Just chasing the bolt here, down the center console. Just unplug the wiring like so. We'll do this one as well while we're in here. And then you just pull it through like so. Put it up there, and that's the front section done pretty much. You've got these bits here now. In my case, mine's been glued along here. I hope you can see what I'm talking about here. Mine's been glued along here, so I'm just going to literally force it off with a nice little tear there. Doesn't sound the nicest, but that's the way to do it. Just trying to keep that out of the way. Now, next thing we've got is these handles that pop up like that. Don't lose your caps. And then get in there with a Phillips screwdriver again. Make sure you keep hold of all your screws. They're all the same, so you ain't got to be too fussy about them. Pull your handle off like so. Keep the other two little clips as well, and that's going to release that. And what you have to do to start that from moving, you have to pull the rubber off the doors like that, so this can all move, and then this will then start to move, if that makes sense. Be careful of your airbags and stuff behind there. But you want this all to start moving now so you can move stuff out of the way. So what I'll do is I'll go to the other side and take the other handle off off camera because you know how to do that one. I'll show you this one as a close-up. So I'll come and lay in the back. Do this one so you're right in front of me, sort of thing, so you can see exactly what I'm doing. Basically, flat blade screwdriver underneath these little bits here, pop them off like so, and again that reveals the screws underneath both bits there. Put them somewhere nice, so I just lay them on the back there. Same as they fall out, take them out of the way, wiggle the handle, and off comes the handle. Sit them down the back there. Now in here you need a star drive to undo this, so I'll go and grab a star drive. I'll let you know the sizes because I can't remember off the top of my head, and we'll get that undone as well. T30, just put it on a little bar like so. Line it up. They're not very tight, they just come straight undone. Pull a little Torx out and just peel this out. And this is a big lump of metal. It's actually a really solid lump of metal. So keep it together with your other bits and pieces. And then you've got the same job a bit further back, which is basically here in the back window. You see where we're sagging here, but it's just one of these, there ain't nothing else, so we'll just spin that out quickly. Sometimes they're that loose that you can't even use the ratchet, you have to spin it with your hand to actually get it undone. And that one's out as well. Then basically you've got the same on the other side, so I'll do them off camera because that's just the same job as what I just done there. So next job is this light here. You just get your hands under it, wiggle it off. You've got a little clip on the wire there. Push that down, pull, and out comes the light. It's pretty straightforward. And then we've got the back light there and some side bits to do. Okay, so down to the rear light in the boot. There's a little hole at the front there of the glass there. Flat blade screwdriver. Twist it gently, pull the glass out. And then in here, you got some much smaller star drives. They're like plastic, that's the trouble. They're not very good quality. They really want to be screws, but they're not. They're like little plastic grommet type things. So they're not the best, to be honest. I always give them a go to try and get them out, but if they don't, then you just have to force them. You don't actually get a choice. Because they spin, but sometimes they just do that, which is no good. They just keep spinning, so you have to go in from the side with a flat blade, pull it tight, so as tight as you can get it. You need to get some force on it, and then try and get it to keep spinning. If they don't, then you literally just have to pull them out like so. Sometimes they're just a pain and they don't want to come out, so you just have to force them out, which, to be fair, is quite often the case on these ones. It seems a bit harsh, but it's not, to be fair. It's only a plastic clip. That's all they are basically, is plastic clips that open up like so. On the back of here, you just push that little plastic tab in there, give it a little pull, and that takes the light out. Put it over there with the glass. Tuck it out of the way if you can. Don't think there's actually any way to put that one on this one. And then you got these side bits next. So you just release them from there basically on these side bits. So pull your rubber off your boot just to get these moving. Give them a wiggle. And as you can hear, quite often the clips just fall off them. One's there, one's just down the side here. There's much better ways of doing things. And there you go, there's the other clip. I'll put it down there with the plastic. And then that basically starts to release some of this now. This is now moving. I'll do the same on this side, but you don't need to see that because you just let me do that side. And that's now moving. Right, so next we've got to do our middle posts. So I'll come round to that door. First thing to do is get all of your rubber, pull your rubber down because it's got to be off to be able to get to any of this. I'll tuck myself under and try and keep out of view of the camera if I can. And you're basically just popping these off to get some movement on there. You don't want it completely off unless you have to, but most of the time you can just move it like that. Pull it off down the sides of these. Come over to this front one. Hopefully you can see that. Same again, I pulled the rubbers off both sides. And there you go, you're over the top. I'll do the same on the other side. So you can see all our bits and pieces there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull the side ones down, as you just saw me do on that side. It will only take seconds. Pull the rubbers off like so. You have to make sure you do both rubbers on both doors, otherwise nothing will release. And then lay on my back in here, wiggle a post enough to get the headline moving. Same again with this one. Get the headline moving. Sometimes you do have to feed it round them. You can take them down if you want to take them down, but it just saves you a job not taking them down. One of them clips is a bit of a pain. Sounds like we're moving. I'm still connected on the front passenger side screen bit. I didn't pull it off like I showed you on the first one on the driver's side. So I ain't going to move away from there if I'm still pinned behind, does it? You can be rough with it when you're taking it out because obviously you're not trying to look after the new headline. When you're going back in, you have to be a lot more gentler. So it's coming down, as you can see. Can't be too much holding it now. Just along the back of the boot here, probably. There you go. A couple of clips. Now, when you get to this point, what you have to do is take this wiring off. Now, it's a pain, but you have to do it because you've got to take it out of the car. So you just peel all this wiring off. That's fine just to sit above when you put it back in, or you can tape it down, or I normally use some masking tape, to be honest. You just pull your wiring all the way along. Peels off quite easily, it's not nothing crazy, nothing to be worried about. It's just glued onto the top of the lining. And you pull it along like so. along the front there, and it's all off. 2 or 3 minute job. Wiggle your lining. Look at that, like, even got the old original label from Rover. Pretty crazy to see that. Pull it through. Your wiring can just lay in your boot. Whee! And up we come. We're out of the car. Right, so I'll give you a quick look at what it's like with no lining in. That's what it looks like with no lining in. Quite strange to see it like that, isn't it? But look at the condition of it, it's lovely. It's a really good one. To be fair, this car is a really good car. All the seals and everything are really nice. All up the back axle, subframes and stuff are like new. The whole car is actually really nice. It's actually going to be available for sale quite soon, if anyone's interested. 2 litre turbo diesel. Rover on Synergy 2 upgrade chip, running about 160 brake. Quite nippy, it's been on there a couple of years now, and that's lovely to drive with it on, to be honest. It gives it plenty of boost. It does really good miles to the gallon, and it's really good. Okay, so we've got 2 little stands out, and the headliner is up on the trestles. This is what you're going to find when you start to peel it back. You're going to get loads and loads of horrible foam. That's the only way to do it, so don't worry about it, just peel it off as much as possible. Try not to get it everywhere, because that's quite a pain to pick up. And there you go. It's pretty much that simple to peel your old one off. But this is the horrible bit. You've now got to get all this foam off, and it's got to be right back to bare, clean fiberglass basically, if possible. So I'm going to have a hot chocolate, get myself ready to get started. I'm going to get a Hoover out ready as well, and a bag, and start to tackle this horrible sticky stuff. So what I do is I basically get myself a scraper, which is like this, and dig. There's no great trick to it or anything, it's just really gluey, sticky, horrible foam. You basically got to try and get off as much as possible. Can be a pain, and that's not a quick process. It's probably going to take me a good hour to strip this whole thing, so obviously I'm not going to keep you on, but you get the idea. You just basically get your scraper on, pull it like that. You've got to do all around the edges, all around the holes. You've got to literally get off as much as you can, because where you don't get it off, that won't stick, the new stuff, and then you're in trouble. Try and get all around these little holes, all around the gaps, all around the bits where the lights fit. Ain't got to be 100%, but you can't leave a lot, if that makes sense. The cleaner you get it, the better the new fabric will stick, and the longer it will stay up, basically. basically to that standard there, to this basically. If you get the whole lot like that, that'll be good enough. So like I say, I'm not gonna keep you on for the whole process because it's gonna be a while. As you can see, I use my hand. For some reason that all rolls up the glue. If you use your hand, you can't do it with a glove on, but if you use your actual skin, it does a nice job and peels it all back. So you get the idea. So I'm going to turn you off for an hour. I'm going to get this all sorted, and we'll come back and we'll look at how to stick the new one on and how to cut the holes out and stuff like that and get it all nice. So it's been about an hour now and I've stripped it all back. I've just put the kettle on so I can have a nice hot chocolate again, and this is what we got basically. Been around all the horrible little edges and stuff and got all the bits that are not very nice to do. Them very edges on the edge of them handles and stuff, I'm now going to get in there with a little wire brush, just flick them bits out, and then I'll hoover this all up. I'll give it a good wipe down with some panel wipe, let that evaporate for 15 minutes, and then we'll get the new cloth and start applying some glue and laying some stuff down and getting some shapes. Oh, the horrible bit. Actually missed a bit around that edge there. Brilliant how sometimes you can just rub it and it comes straight off. The rest of all these little bits are going to have to be hoovered. Just trying to get these big piles off. Whew. Keeping your work area clean is the most important thing doing this job. The last thing you want is this stuff going everywhere, because if they get all over you when you lay in your car, that's going to be sticking to your seat, sticking to your carpet. It's going to be going everywhere, and that's real good fun to get off, that sort of stuff. Plus, when you put the new material on the board, you really don't want all this rubbish going all over it there. So it's worth spending 10 minutes just having a good old clean up, hoover up. Make sure you deal with the front of your body as well. Look, I've still got some on me there. I'll just hoover my top as well. It's because I picked up the board to move it around so I could do this area. I'll put the stands back down in a second, put the board back down. But yeah, that's a very important step to do that. So my work area is spotlessly clean now. Gonna bring the headliner back in. Now that's fully hoovered probably 2 or 3 times. I've been in there with the panel wipe, I've wiped all the whole thing down. Next thing to do is I'll show you the glue that I use and the one I recommend. You want a high temperature one, because if you don't use the high temp, you'll be in trouble, because that'll come back down in the summer. When it get hot, that'll just all drip back down. That's the one I use, and that's the one I've been using for years. And it does the job. Just make sure you got the high temperature one and you'll be good. So what I do here, I'll just lift you up a little bit so you can see what's going on. As I'm not doing anything, I'm just literally going to go and put a bit of glue on the board. Not going to do anything for sticking anything on. That's just to get a fresh layer basically to work with, if that makes sense. I don't really want to work with the layer that's been there 20 years. You know, 20 years ago someone was putting that on from Rover. I don't really want to be working with that layer, so what I do is I get myself a completely new layer, like you'll see it now. Just make sure you literally cover the whole thing, so you're not using it for anything, so don't worry too much, but get a really good covering. And you're giving yourself a new layer, basically. Doesn't matter if it goes off before you start putting your material on or anything like that, because it's not for that. It's literally for basically giving you a new board, basically. That's what I was doing. I've never ever seen anyone else do this before. But you ask the people that I've done this for on their cars for their headlinings, ask them if they're still sticking 10 years later, because this is the difference. The panel wipe steps and this step, giving yourself a whole new layer, is a big difference to what you get if someone just slapping a bit of cloth on, a little bit of glue. Next summer it will start peeling down again. That's not what you want. You want this to go on. You want a whole new layer, and you basically want it to stay there for 10, 15 years, 20 years again, like I did from the factory. So as you can see, I've literally just given myself a layer. I've just covered the whole board. Basically like giving myself a new fiberglass layer to start with, if that makes sense. And what will happen is I'm going to give this probably a good 15 minutes or so to dry. And what will happen is when I put a fresh layer on top of that, to start laying the new material on, that will react with the glue I've just put on just now. And they'll like stick to each other, if that makes sense. Then they'll bond to each other. And you get a double whammy basically, and it's going to grip it twice as good, because this is already gripping to the board. And then the new layer goes on top of that, that grips to that, that grips to the board. They bond to each other, and you can't get much better, basically. So there's your new board. Leave that alone for 15 minutes, and then come across with some material. Okay, so I've laid the material on. Didn't stock it or anything like that, just laid it on to make sure it's fit, cut it to length. So we'll get started. Start doing some stuff. Got a pair of scissors there. I'll do small sections at a time. Don't be scared to use the glue, get plenty on. absolutely hammer it on. What you want to do is react. Just realised I didn't have the mic on, so I just put it back on. Right, yeah, as I say, you're literally just hammering it on all over where you're actually going to start sticking. As I say, don't put this on lightly, use absolutely loads. You can't really use too much, to be honest. Get all your edges. Don't forget these little corners that poke out. You will have to spray it on the floor a little bit or whatever to get it on them, but it's the only way to do it. Right. Let's get hold of some material and we've got to start getting into these shapes. Take it right over, all in one hit. Put one hand underneath and find your corner, basically. Find that pointy bit. Push both hands together. Go round where the sun visors and stuff go. And once you've started, if that doesn't go into the contours, lift it and move it. Try not to get any of the glue come on with you, that's the trouble. You don't want it on this side. Keep pressing it down and try and sort of work it into the corners and around the edges of all the shapes. Tucking it under, pushing it down into the corners. If you have to lift it up again, then lift it up. You've got like 15 minutes to play with it, so you can keep lifting it and moving it and just run your hands along and just keep smoothing it in the best you can. Keep doing it, work your way to the edge. Keep flattening it down. Lift yourself up from the other end again, fold it over, give yourself some slack so you can lift it up again. Basically, you're just trying to follow all the contours of the fiberglass mat, basically. Just keep blending it in. Every time you get a piece that's stretched too much, just lift it up, give it some slack, and then blend it back in. As you can see, I'm just running my hands all around the edges, all around the lines, everywhere I need to go, and I'll just lift up the mat every time I need to. Oh, for some reason the mics are switched off, so I'm going to have to do a voice over the top of this. So basically I'm spraying in the glue everywhere I need it. If it starts to go tacky and go off, not sticking, then I'll just reapply some more glue, no problem. And then you just pulling the material around the edges and trying to blend in all the shapes, all the contours, all the edges, the little pointy bits. Just trying to make everything all smoothed in so it looks like one piece, basically. You don't want no bits that are stretched and they're like bridging across pieces and that's pulling too tight. Same on the corners, just blend it over the edge, bend it right over, and rub all around where your sun visors and stuff go. Make sure you get all them shapes there. Lift up the edges, re-spray some glue onto the edges, catch the edge of the new material as well, and then just bend it over. And within sort of 10 seconds or so, that will start to stick. And you basically, like I say, you're just trying to reshape it. Keep shaping and keep shaping. And then you can pull your material back out, stretch it back out, make sure you got your length right, because you don't want to pull it in too much that you start to pull up from the other end. And then we'll come down the edges, get the little bits and pieces off it, start to land onto the new material, because you don't want nothing pressed into it. And then along this edge, if you start to sort of run your hands right and get everything all smoothed in, you can then start to trim some of these edges, because you don't want a big flapping edge like that to be folded under the side. You just want to cut it so that's a few centimetres or so over the edge, and then you can glue it underneath, so when you put it up in the air in the car, that'll all be underneath and you'll just have a nice clean edge. So I'll cut it to around this point first, because that point is the hard bit, so cut it round the point but leave yourself a bit of material to stick underneath it. And then find your edges, go along, and basically to cut all the way along your edge, leaving yourself a bit to stick it under later on. Keep checking, because if you cut this wrong, there's no going back. You have to get a new piece of material. So keep checking your edges, make sure you're just leaving enough to fold it under. Then I'll just come from the other side, cut that piece off, get that piece out of the way. It's a big chunk out of the way. And then that makes it easier for you to play with them side bits then. I'll go and put them on the side, because you never know, you might be able to use them on another piece of material on the inside of the car, which is a smaller piece, or on another project that you're doing. So basically now you're just squeezing all them edges, making sure it's all nice and smooth. I'm looking underneath on them edges now just to see where I can put the glue, and we can start to fold it under. Make sure you only spray the glue underneath on the fiberglass panel, not onto the top of the new headlining, because that's the last thing you want to do. Just spray yourself a nice tacky coat all the way along, and then start folding your edges over. Use your thumb and fingers to squeeze it between the panel and the material, and that will start to just stick as you go along. Work your way along, and that will start to fold over and look really nice. So I think you're starting to get the idea. Once you get these edges starting to stick, you just do the same thing like all the way around. Just keep gluing it, sticking there. Do little bits at a time if you have to. If you can't do a big patch and that will stick, if that's a bit tough, just do little bits like that and work your thumb and fingers along like so, and that will start to stick. And then you just work your way along, and you'll start to get a nice shape going. There'll be bits that go in, bits that go out, so you've got to follow the contours of the edges and stuff. You might have to cut some little cuts into it so you can fold some sides into the side and to the other side and to the middle sort of thing. And follow the contours of the board. So I'm just cutting myself just around this point here at the moment, just so we can get a bit of the material to stick either side of the point. One bit will be hidden once it's up in the car, and the other bit will obviously be on show behind the sun visors. So I'm just cutting along there. I'm going to cut and leave myself an edge so I can fold this front under as well. And that's basically what you do all the way around. You just keep cutting and shaping, lapping it under, cutting round again, shaping, smoothing it in. There's nothing quick about it. You just have to take your time and keep doing it bit by bit and make sure everything's sticking. Go back to bits if they're not, and just keep going. I'm just lifting it up here at the moment so I can spray along the front underneath so I don't get it on top of the material. Then I'll be able to fold it under, as you'll see in a second, and that will stick the material to underneath. Remember, if you get any glue on your end of your fingers, then wipe them onto your trousers or onto a towel or whatever you've got, so you don't put them on the top and the headliner that's actually going to be showing. Just keep all the glue underneath. Try not to mess up any of the new material. As you can see, I'm getting lots of bits and pieces on the end of my fingers, so I'm just trying to get it off as I'm going along. I don't want none of it on the new material. I want it all to stay underneath and sticking to the board. So again, I'm just using my fingers to follow the shapes where the sun visors sit. Just trying to keep everything nice and smooth. Obviously you've got a foam back, so you've got a 6mm gap between the board and the actual new material. So you just move it around as you do until it lines up, basically. So it's not an easy job. You have to just keep cutting shapes, trying not to have the material too tight, and then you give yourself enough material so you can just cut it, re-glue from underneath, and then fold it under. On the corners you have to cut a slit to either angle, one to the right, one to the left, so you can fold the triangle corners under. On this middle bit you got like a roundy bit, domey bit where the light go and stuff, so you have to work your way around that. Then down here, down to the point, you have to cut around that point again and work your way along the side of the board. They never do it without looking though, because if you cut it too short, there's no really way of patching it up. I mean, you can put a piece over the top of a piece, but it wouldn't look very nice. You want it all to be one piece and looking really nice, don't you? So as you can see, I'm cutting around the point, and I'm going to work my way along the side. Just checking all the time all along the board, just to make sure I'm leaving enough overlap to tuck it under. And do the contours and blend it all in without running out of material on the edges. So like I say, don't ever cut too much. Just keep checking. It's worth keep checking, because if you spoil it, you got to pull it all off and start again. Buy new material. You don't want to be doing that. So just keep checking like I am. You can see me checking. You got contours on the sides where they go in like cup shape sort of thing as well. So you got to cut into some of them as well. And then just leave yourself enough to tuck it underneath. You can see me squeezing the board, looking for the bits where they tuck in. That's basically what I'm doing, so I know I can cut a bit closer on them bits, and then you can cut a little slit in it and that will fold under. So I only cut to a point to where I'm gluing. I won't cut all the way down the side. I'll only cut to where I'm actually gluing at the time, because you don't know what's going to happen with the rest of the new material as you move it around and stuff. So it's another chunk left over, which I'll just go and put on the settee over here. And I could use that maybe on a door card or on something else another time. So we'll move this round, we'll have a little look to see what's going on, make sure all our points and everything are good, make sure everything's all nice and smooth, make sure all our tucks that are going underneath are all nice and not pulling any creases into the material or nothing like that. If you have got any creases starting to show, then just lift the material back up, apply some more glue and re-spread it while it's still soft. You can see I'm now re-gluing along this side. I'm now going to start to stick the material underneath, and that should fold the front over, and that's going to make the front of the board basically done. You get a nice clean finish where it folds under. I'm being really careful and going underneath because I don't want to spray the glue on top of the material at the top. Nothing worse than doing all that work and then you spray a load of glue onto the material because it don't come off. It makes a mess, and yeah, it just messes up everything you've done. So be very, very careful. If you have to, when you're doing them bits around the edge, use a piece of cardboard, hang it over the edge and make sure you only spray underneath. Obviously I've got a fair bit of experience in doing this, so I'm used to doing it. So I basically work out how the nozzle spray the glue out, and then I just use the edge of that to not go too much further. I'll work my way around this point, and then we'll work our way down that side. I'll probably have to cut a slit into that point so that it can actually be folded under. But it's starting to shape up, starting to look okay. The front end's starting to look quite nice. We're starting to get some of them shapes, that's looking good. All around the edges of the light where that go now, the bits where the sun visor go, all them shapes are all nice. If they don't quite go down, if they're slightly tight and they're just lifted a little bit, when we cut the shape out there to fit the new light bit in, you can actually pull them up and then just re-glue them around them edges. So don't worry too much if you've got a couple of bits on the edge that are not quite right, because when we cut that other piece out, you'll be able to, move the material then and sort that out. So as you can see, under the front, that's all tucked under, it's all glued down, it's all looking good. So we'll move our attention around the side now, and we'll glue along the top and underneath, and we'll fold this underneath up to where we've glued on the main board. Into that crease there, where you can see where that goes in, where my fingers are there. That pushes in there, so you want to push that in slightly as you're gluing it, and that will hold itself there. And that will start to get that front end of the board looking quite nice. Like I say, don't rush it, it's not a quick job. It should take you a good hour and a half to get all this on and get it on nicely and all flat and exactly how it's meant to be, and then cut out all the holes for the lights and stuff like that, and the handles, etc, etc. So shaking up the glue, and we're going to re-glue this edge again so it's got a double stick, and then we'll start to fold that over, and that will make that front end or front quarter of the board all in shape and all nice and tight. and then we can work out where we're going from there. As you can see, I'm being really careful not to spray it onto the top of the main material. And then that's the case of getting your fingers and your thumb and folding the corners over into that point. And then work your way along that edge, folding it under. Just keep hold of it until it actually sticks and holds the actual material. If you let go too early, sometimes they're going to start to peel back up. And just feed your finger and thumb along, work your way along the actual board, and that will start to stick down and you'll start to get a nice shape. As you can see, I'm making sure I get the top edge and then right over and right under the board, which is exactly what you want. And then just work your hands together, basically going along, making sure it's sticking as you're moving along. Keep an eye on exactly what you're doing. Try not to use the curve where you're folding over the edge. Try not to cover up any of the door handle. You know, where you hold your hands on the handles above the glass sort of thing. Couldn't think what I was on about then. Push your hands into them contours and stuff. Hold them bits underneath. Squeeze that bit where it goes in, where my hand is now. Squeeze that bit and that will hold it all in tight. Give it a few seconds and that will hold itself there. And then when you're pretty much there on that front bit, it's probably looking really good now. Putting a bit more glue on a little bit where it's starting to lift. It's just not quite got enough, so we're putting a little bit more on there. We'll squeeze that down, hold that in for a few seconds, and that should sort that out. Okay, so next we'll go right down the other end again. We'll fold it over. And we'll move the material right back down to up to the glued part where we've already glued to on the first quarter. Be very careful to not get glue on any of that where you're folding it over. Then lift up the material where you fold it over and make sure that you get a load of glue in there. And cover all the bits that, you know, that are soft under there where they're not stuck down. Make sure you get right under there, which is why I'm pulling it up. Even if you lift a little bit where you've already glued, that's worthwhile, because you need to make sure you're getting plenty of glue in there, and so you can glue it all down to the contours and everywhere you want it. So it's just spraying loads like I am now. Really get it in there. Do all your edges. Just get plenty on. And then as you start to roll it back, you then got something to stick to. Straighten it all back out, as you can see, so you get your actual length right. And leave yourself like a bit of slack on the edges, so when you're doing the contours along the sides, that slack will push down into them. You'll see as I'm pushing in and I go along, that'll keep giving myself a bit of slack, so I can push into like the lines and the gaps that are starting to happen. As you can see, I'm running my hands across and just finding all the shapes and all the ups and down bits and anything sticking out and any lines starting to appear. I'm running backwards and forwards, just trying to find everything, trying to feel everything, and trying to make everything shape into what it's meant to be. Basically doing that like that is going to get you to the halfway point, and then you're going to have to lift her up again, get some more glue on there, and basically just keep doing the same thing. You've got to keep working your way along until you get basically to the other end of the board. So this time we'll probably put a load more glue on. We'll do all the edges, we'll probably do the rest of the board, to be honest. We'll get a load more on there, really cover it. As you can see, just keep hammering it on, You honestly can't put too much on, you just want to really stick it on, and then that'll activate what's underneath it as well. And then when you pull the foam over to the top, that'll really grab hold of it and really stick to it. You can see in the camera now, I'm really putting it on like a shooting out foam or snow. Just keep putting it on, that won't hurt it at all. It won't soak up through the material or nothing in the foam and come through the material either. That's the proper stuff to do the proper job, basically. Just keep whacking it on, make sure you get all your edges, not just the top edges, the edges that go over the side, so you can fold it under as well. Get all around the light bits, get all the little pointed corners, get the dips where it's going to contour from like being straight and then up and over humps and stuff like that. Make sure you get plenty of glue in them bits, so when you push it in there, the material stays in there. And then roll your material back out like I am now. Get the length right, but make sure you leave yourself some slack on the edges like I did before. And run your hand along the side, you'll feel the edges. Just run your hand along the side, and there's like a bar a bit further up. And as you can see, I'm now starting to run my hands along it. And you want to run that in so it's all nice and smooth. And then start to run along the side of that bar so you get the line on either side of the bar. And a nice smooth flat surface either side. And all the way along the edges, right down to the back. Cover over the bit where the light is in the boot. Keep looking underneath, make sure you're getting everything as nice and flat and smooth as you can. Always keep checking back and lift up the bits that are not going properly. If you get a bit that's lifted up and like bridged, just peel it back and make sure you get a bit of slack in there and stick it back down. As you can see, I'm checking my edges every time I do it. I'm squeezing all the edges. I want that foam to really, really stick and stay there for years and years and years to come. Just keep working it and keep working it. Work your way around the edges. Come around to the other side. Give yourself a bit of slack again. As you can see, I'm leaving myself some slack. And then follow from the other side. Run your hand up the sides, so you're not putting any creases in. If you went down and towards the other side and towards the middle, you'd push creases into it. So always work from the side you work from. Run your hand towards the opposite side. And as you can see, just running up and down now, keeping everything all nice and smooth, making sure there's no glue or bits and pieces on there. And we're starting to look pretty good. You can see the bar go across the middle there now. I've got a hand on either side now, and I'm just running the sides up while I'm pressing the board underneath. And lifting it up, getting all them slacks out, and folding it over that edge. I've got that little contour bit that pushes in, as you can see where my hands are now. And we're just running up onto them edges. That should stick to the edge, and then later on we'll be able to cut the sides off. And we'll be able to glue the edges and fold them underneath. It's starting to look pretty good. We're getting towards the end of it. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn it round, because I like to work at this end because there's more light. And what we'll do is we'll get it all lined up like I just have. We'll work on them edges and we'll just spray right on the very edge. We'll pull it back just slightly even though it is stuck. And we'll get some a bit further under. We'll get right on them edges and just under the sides. We'll put plenty on. As you can see, we'll get a little bit on the foam as well on purpose. So we've got like a double attack sort of thing. And then we'll run our hands from the middle and up towards the edges that we're trying to work. Don't go the opposite way, like I said before, because you don't want to push creases in. Always work away from where you've already glued. So if you glued the middle, then work to the new bit. So come run your hands from the middle up to the new surface, and you'll never get any creases. That will all stay nice and straight. Run your hands along the sides, over the bits where the lights go, round the edges. Keep pulling it back if you need to. Run your hands down the sides, run it over the edge and into that contour. Make sure it's all sticking nicely. Just keep running your hands round, smoothing it all in. And within a few seconds or so, even 30 seconds or a minute, that'll all start to stick quite well. And you should start getting a nice shape like I've got here. So next thing to do is start getting rid of some of these big flappy edges. because obviously we want to fold that underneath and glue that down, and that edge is way too big. So we'll cut the point out around the bit that's sticking out, and then we'll start to run down the side. Like I say, remember, keep looking at the board, make sure you don't cut too short or you can't fold it under, and then start working your way down the side and just leaving yourself enough to put some glue underneath the board and then fold it underneath. You've got a piece that's going in just a bit further up here, so just cut into that area and give yourself a little bit of a push-in point. You'll have to cut that at a slight angle instead of just straight down the side as I'm doing now. And then when you glue it, you'll be able to fold it under just like normal. You've got yourself a nice big extra bit there now if you want to do any other bits of trim that you're going to be doing. We're starting to look pretty good. We're starting to get a really decent board. Once that get back in the car, it's going to look really nice, really nice, professional, and exactly what you want. No saggy bits. You'll be able to see all the detail. You've got a nice colour, and everything should blend in nicely. All your lights and stuff should sit in with really nice flush edges, and that will look like it's just been done in the factory, basically, like it's, you know, literally just come out of the factory, which is exactly what you want. So I'm working on them edges again, running my hands along the sides, squishing it all down. You can see I'm doing like fingers and thumb work. You just keep working your way along the sides. That sticks to it so quickly. You can just keep moving along. Sometimes that will pull off and you'll have to give it another squirt. And that just means it's got a little bit of tension on it, which is not a bad thing, as long as it's underneath the board. I'm just going to cut into that little angle there so I can just push like 2 triangles when I glue underneath. As you can see there, I'll push it into one corner, I'll cut a slit into the middle, and I'll fold one to one side and one up onto the other side, and that'll give us a nice curve in the middle there. Finger and thumb all the way along the side to stick the underneath, and we'll start to get a really nice good shape, exactly like we've got now. If you can hear that noise on the roof, it's absolutely pouring around outside and hailing and all sorts of stuff. So sorry if you can hear that. So we'll keep gluing along the side of this edge. We'll work our way along this edge. And that's pretty much what we need to do. We're nearly there with it, really. We're just got to work our way along here, sort out that end, and we're going to be ready to sort of put it back in the car. But we're not, so keep watching, because there's still another bit we've got to do as yet. We've still got to cut all the holes out ready for the lights and the handles and all that sort of stuff. So let's get this side glued back on. We're now going to cut along. We're going to cut a little slit into there so we can fold it. If you try to fold a piece underneath and that starts to like put tension on it, then just cut a slit towards where the tension go. But obviously don't go right onto the board. Leave yourself a bit of slack. Then you'll be able to fold it either way, and that bit of tension will go. Basically, that will disappear, and you get a nice edge. You get exactly what you want. And then just keep working your way forward around the edge of the board. Keep cutting where you need to cut. Get your edges right. Work your way around. And so keep checking, because the board is a funny shape, and before you know it you can cut too short and then you've got nowhere to glue it. But as you can see, this is going around quite nicely. We're getting the contour edge there. Got the little piece that goes in and round the like airbag bit, which is why that goes in like that. It's one of the posts. And it's all looking good. I'm going to put a little bit more of the old glue just under there where it's not quite sticking. And we'll squidge them 2 bits in. And as you can see, they're now starting to stick. Sometimes you just have to add that little bit extra glue because it starts to dry off before you get to that point. So you just want that little bit extra there. So check them along the front. I'm going to cut the rest of this excess off because it's way too big and flapping over the edge. We definitely can't glue that underneath. It's just way too much. That'll make the board stick down when you put it back in the car, which you don't want. You want it to go in there all nice and flush. So when you bolt everything up, it all goes up nice and tight. So we'll get the rest of this cut off. We'll just leave ourselves just a little edge so we can fold it under. Get rid of the excess bit. That's not really much good for anything unless you can do something really tiny that you want to cover. We'll spin the whole thing round so we can see a bit better. So by now you should get the idea of how to do it. So what I've done is I'll put it on fast forward so you can just see me like finish off these bits. We're just gluing along the front now where I've just cut off the excess, and we're going to fold that under. Starting to get a complete headline in there. If you look sort of back in the picture, you can see everything's all taking shape. You can see all the bits where you need to see the bits. We just got to get these edges tucked under now and this end piece done, which is the boot end, and then we should be able to start cutting out some of the shapes and stuff for the lights and the handles and stuff like that. So we'll cut along this side, get rid of this excess, cut a couple of little V's and stuff in there so we can just cut around them bits that go in, and keep checking our board like we always say, because you don't want to get this far where you're sort of 90% done and then cut into your board and have a big chunk missing. Cool, it'd be nothing worse, wouldn't it? I've done it before. I've cut all around the edges. I've had this all stuck on before, and I went to cut out where a handle was and realised there weren't a handle there. It was because I was thinking of a different car and it had 4 handles, and this car I was doing only had 3. There weren't one on the driver's side, and I cut it out and there weren't a handle to put there. So you do have to be really careful and make sure you're only cutting out the bits that you need to. So we'll get all these edges squeezed together, get the rest of this side on, and then what we'll do is we'll go and grab a blade, nice fresh blade, and that's how we start to cut out the bits for the lights and stuff like that. So you've got the last bit down these sides now, just squirting some glue on, tucking the bits underneath. Finger and thumb job again, like I said, on the other side. Squeeze it all into the shapes. Keep squeezing it till it just stays there itself. Get the scissors and cut in your little angles where you need to cut the angles so you can fold it opposite ways. And make it all stay under there. So I think you get the idea of how to do all that now. So what we'll do now is we'll jump from here to start cutting out the lights and stuff. And I'll show you how to do the next bit. So next we get ourselves a nice little sharp blade, like so. And that's what we used to start cutting out the little holes and the gaps where we need to fit our stuff back in the car. Obviously you've got to put lights back in, you've got to put handles back in, sun visors and stuff like that have got to go up. There's lots of bits and pieces that got to go in, but what we're going to start with is this nice big one at the front. So you get the idea. So what I'm doing is I'm just pushing my hands in the centre of it and feeling for the edge of the board, just to make sure I don't cut anything short. And then I'll cut from the edges, leave myself like a finger's or thumb's gap from the board to the edge of the material, and then cut towards the into the middle of the circle. And what that does, that gives me slack on the material, and then I'll be able to cut the edges of the material, little triangles off, and then the bits that are around the edge, when I push the light into the centre, they'll just fall underneath and that'll all blend in really nicely. So work from the outer edge, run yourself inwards, but make sure you leave that fingers or thumbs gap on the edge so you can fold in the light. You get that extra really nice finish. So as you can see, all the tension's gone. I'm there going to grab the scissors, and what we do is we'll cut off all the little triangles, not too tight. Let's say make sure you've always got that thumb gap. And what that does is that will fold underneath when you put the light in, and that'll give you that perfect finish, like that's been professionally done at the factory. All I'll do is just go all the way around the edge, cutting off all the little triangles. And that'll give us a really nice finish around the edge. Make sure you don't cut them too short, because you don't want to see any of them edges. You want that all to fold in. And there you go, like so, that's how you do your edges. So if you put a light in, if you put that in the car now and put a light into that, you wouldn't see any of that. That would fill up the whole gap, the light would go over the edge. That would push all the material in, and you'd have a perfectly good looking edge. So next we'll go around to one of the side handles that you hold on, the grip handles. We'll look from the underneath through the board. We'll feel with our finger. We'll push like a little holey sort of gap towards it, and then we'll get the blade and we'll stick it through the hole basically. Make sure you check when you're pressing and make sure it's going exactly where it's meant to go, because you only get one shot. You just cut a little slit and that's all you need, literally a little slit. It's just enough to push the handle through so you can put the Phillips screws in and do them up, do the handle up basically. Same again on the other side. Just enough to poke it through, and that's exactly what you want, that's all you need. So as you can see, I've done the middle one. There's a little hole either side, and then there's a big hole in the middle, and that's for the handle, and then the little metal bit that goes in that was on the star drives, the Torx bits. And I'm now doing the front one. No, it's the rear one actually, where the little hook fingers go, you can hang fingers on. I think it's there for a dog guard. I don't actually know, I've never actually used them, but I think that's what they're for. I'm just cutting from the centre outwards again like I did before, and then just pushing around the edges, and the glue's just taking up the slack. And it's basically enough just to be able to push the bits through once it's back in the car, and that's all you need on that. So next I'm cutting out the big one in the middle, where the two lines are and that big sort of like board bit goes across. And that's where the light goes in the middle of it. So I'm cutting from the centre to the edges, like I did before, and leaving a bit of slack on the rest of the material so I can cut the rest off and be able to push the light in, and that will go nice and flush like we did on the other one. So just a quick look at that and what I'm doing there, and I think you get the idea. So I'm going to jump from here and then show you the board done. Okay, so let's go over and have a close-up look so you can see where I've cut the holes out. And as you can see, the finish around the edge of the holes doesn't need to be perfect, because when you push the light in, the rest of that material is going to push under the side of the board, and it's going to give you a really nice finish. As you can see, like I'm doing my thumb there, the light will hang over the edges, and that will give it a really nice, smooth, finished off finish. The holes on the side there for the handle, same for the middle there, and then the hook bit on the back there. And as you can see, all we're doing is just getting these board bits cut, so when we push the bits through, we can still fit all our fittings once the headliner's back in. That's all you got to do. You just got to cut them so they're not too far across. You just got enough slack to push in whatever accessory goes in there, and then as you put the accessory in, that gives you the finish that you want. So it smooths everything off. It looks really nice, looks really professional, looks really factory. So this is what it looks like, all finished, all the holes cut out, everything all smoothed down, everything glued down, everything all tucked on the sides. Looking really nice, looking really professional, looking exactly how you want it to look. No saggy bits, no stretch bits, no rips, no cuts that have gone too far. Just looking really good. That's exactly what you want. So when you're doing yours, just take your time. Okay, so I've cut all the rest out. This is what it's meant to look like. This is what it looks like from underneath. Everything should be folded over. Nothing covering the holes when you put new accessories in. You can see we're stuck on all around the edge now. Folded over nicely, so it's pulling the material tight. Good. all the way around, as you can see.
Okay, so letting it settle now and letting it all go hard.
Basically after that, you're ready
This
to
edge
put
has
it
just
back
come
in.
over here, and this edge is
Basically when you
all
put
well
it
on
back
that
in,
edge
you do
there.
the reverse of what you took out.
That one up there could do with just pushing back over.
Where you're going to be.
Okay, so this is what it looks like before it goes back in. Sorry, I had to do the voiceover bit on when I was doing all the cutting out and sticking this on the board, but for some reason the old mics went wrong. I don't know what happened, to be honest, but I lost a load of footage, so I had to do the best I could on voiceovers just to show you how to do all these little bits and how to cut these bits out and how to smooth everything out and that sort of thing. I'm pretty sure the video is going to help you out still going to be good. So basically that's about as far as we need to go. There's no point me putting it back in and doing a reverse of taking it out, because you already know how to do that because you've took it out. So basically be really gentle when you put it back in. Feed it over the top of the pillars and stuff to get around these edges like these bits here. Feed the corners over. Line up all these edge bits. Put your metal bits in, put your handles and stuff in, fill up screws, lights. Don't forget your wiring on the back. Run your wiring all the way down when you first put it in. And just put some tape on it so it stays still. Doesn't really matter if I move around, to be honest, I ain't going to do anything. But it'd be best to keep it still, I always do. Or if you really want to, you can get some runny glue and just run a bit of runny glue here, there and everywhere and just stick the wiring on as you go along. And that'll sort that out. So that's all you need to know, I think, and then you should be able to do it yourself. So hopefully that's helped you out, and that's definitely will have saved you a lot of money. I mean, a headliner like this now is about $450 to have done, and depending on what other cars, that's for this sort of car, this is the Rover 75, depending on, if it was an old Merc or something like that, and it had a frame in instead of this or whatever, then you could be looking at £1,000 or plus. So you definitely save yourself some money, so it's worthwhile giving the old video a thumbs up, maybe a comment below, maybe subscribe if you're new to the channel. And you might pick up some more tips and bits and pieces to do to your car as well, because I do loads of work on these sort of cars and some modern stuff and some stuff in between, basically. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you all soon in another video. Bye for now.